Well, all right then. Let's get started. The oh god. So Star Citizen Alpha 3.17.3 is live. Um and here's the patch notes. As usual, typical Star Citizen patch notes. Known issues list is 10 times longer than the features list. Nothing new there. Ships and vehicle, ground vehicle adjustments. To be perfectly honest, I heard a lot of people complaining about these, but to me, no, I really don't have too much of an understanding of why uh, the slowing down of things would be a problem or why boosting them up would be or whatever. I don't really care. Ground vehicles don't really have like a ton of value in the game currently. So like all the cyclone values, unless you're a doing a I don't know, Daymar Rally or something like that. Like when was the last time I drove a cyclone? I can't even remember. Ballista, you're just landing them down at an area and they're probably staying pretty stationary. Same with the Nova tank. And the Rock is sped up, it looks like, and that's the only ground vehicle I use. As well as the PTV was sped up for the racetrack, it looks like. Bug fixes, some very minor stuff, something to Wallace Klim. Okay, no biggie. And then you have some a server crash and some back end stuff. Nothing big. Okay. Where I lose my mind is, well, they didn't even mention it here as a feature update, but they did some balance to, maybe they did it in, no testing focus or anything like that. That's just for PTUs. They did a little balance to the loot table. The balance to the loot table is a Halloween event where you can get the original Halloween masks from previous Halloween events in the loot table. Okay? And will these masks be lootable? While sightings of the masks have been reported in various locations, they will not spawn in all areas. Derelict ships and underground facilities are the two areas that escaped the Hill Horror this year. I will lose these masks this time you wipe the database. This is where I lose it. Okay? This is where I lose it. And I'll give some backstory here before we get into this part. And that is that the original Vandal mask, this one right here, was earned originally, and it was only ever in an event one time, where you had to kill 50 individual different players, 50 different players over the course of I think it was a 10-day to 15-day period, something like that. It was quite a long time, but it was not an easy achievement. And a lot of people cheesed it. They just lined up 50 players in front of a Gladius. You just hold down the shoot button, everybody would die, and you would get your mask, right? But the community was much smaller then. The event was cheesed. There's a lot of reasons to argue for putting the mask in the loot table. But there's also the general understanding of value for items in the game, game development, not visual development, and all these things that are extraordinarily worrying when you see something like this. And this is the definition of insanity. What happened at the beginning of 3.17, guys? What happened? Oh, guys, we need to wipe your accounts, but we'll make sure we give you guys some money. That nobody needed it. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. It was a wipe. Get people used to the game's development. This stuff is going to happen. They do this reverse wipe thing where they gave a bunch of money and then they gave too much money and then they had to give it back. And then they did all this stupid stipend shit that just didn't work. Guess who's back? The community team with a huge post talking about how they're going to do it again, except for these masks. I had no issue with them having a fun little Halloween event and having a mask that I value extraordinarily highly. I value it highly. Others may not, and I understand. Okay, I value it, and it is my most prized item in the game for various reasons, and making it so people can find it in the loot table. But I was okay with it because wiping out the 318. Now they're going to give you one of each if you've earned them in the game. Okay? This is my most prized item for many reasons. The first reason why, is this is the first ever, and still technically the only item ever delivered to a player in the game that is not purchasable. Whether it was cheesed or not, this was the first item that you did something in game and you earned it. So it has value to me, and I want to make sure that that's clear to me. And I'm trying to hold back my personal upsetness about the helmet or mask specifically, but it's hard. That was it. This was 2019, I believe, or 2018. I can't remember. It was a long time ago that they did it. It wasn't. This was like the first time they ever did this stuff. And then they did another Halloween event, and I was worried that they were going to do the mask. They didn't. The Hill mask, this one, was there. The Vandal mask was not. And I was like, sweet. They're preserving it. They get it. They get it. Then in comes Day of the Var 2952. They don't get it, right? If you've ever played MMOs before, event items are, at least in the MMOs that I've played, are the rarest items in the game. And there's a section of the community that are collectors. And the thing about these specific items is they can be very special, right? And you hold them forever, and you could show them off, and their value continues to go up as players quit the game from the original days that could have had it. There's less and less and less in the pool, and the item becomes more and more and more valuable. And it gets to be very cool for the collector type of players. I'm absolutely, and always have been, that collector type of player. Now, you can definitely still get the Vandal mask if you wanted. Now, we're talking about like a release situation, right? You can absolutely get the Vandal mask if you wanted. You just have to pay for it for somebody who's selling it, right? Collectors collect a couple of them, put a few up for sale to make some more money, and there you go. That's kind of how that stuff works. And this totally negates that. Now, the other argument here is that, and this is 100% valid, Star Citizen is an alpha. None of this shit matters. Okay? But the big takeaway here is they're going to preserve this on your account. They're going to mark your accounts with these. So come live, you will have these items. Come live, you will have these items. Right? So now you earned the mask you've just taken the value from the mask and completely ripped it. So this is an item that could have been rare going live, regardless if it's an alpha or not, because it's marked on your account now. And that sucks. And I see you in chat, oh no, my value. Well, you know what? I don't make fun of you about the things that matter for you necessarily. And again, this is a complete misunderstanding from the game development team. And now I can see in my Twitch chat, people in the community that have no understanding of why these things matter. It have absolutely no understanding of how MMOs work and why things matter. Okay? You can't redo the event because the event was cheesed. So they can't redo the event. And that's why it's sort of okay to have this mask in the loot table. So there's some arguments for it, and there's some arguments against it. The thing that I am worried about is, do they actually understand why this thing is such a big deal to me? Do they understand that killing 50 players was an actual achievement for me? The only achievement I've ever had in Star Citizen, ever. Not everything should be easy. You shouldn't be able to get everything that you want in the game. The entitlement issue here is the issue. Yes, it sets a precedent. And that's what I'm worried about. Is this precedent setting? Is this a situation where they are so clueless to the value of this item that they just threw it in a loot table? Maybe, maybe not. Or are they going, hey, it was cheesed anyway. We'll do this again in the future, but we won't make the same mistakes that we made with the Vandal mask? Okay. Maybe we should say it then. Like, the lack of understanding of why this is such a big deal to me is the issue here. Right? Is this is my most prized possession, and it no longer means shit. It means nothing now. Because people are running around going to UGF bunkers with AI that don't even respond and just collecting the item that I spent days to earn. You are a $500 million, $500 million company that can't take one prop artist and turn this thing into something that looks a little bit different for this specific event. $500 million, and you can't make this thing look a little bit different to keep the value of the original item that people actually earned? That's where this is at. The complete lack of understanding is insane to me. That's the part. And I don't know if that's it or if it's not. But I'll say this. This is the single worst thing I've seen them do for me personally. Okay? I get that some people will not agree with me. I get that some people will think that I'm overreacting. But I'm trying to get you to understand that some people collect items in games. Some people go to ship meetups. Some people go to PvP. Some people do other things. This was my thing. This was the thing that mattered to me so much. And you literally just fucking ripped it from me. It sucks. And would I care about this mask go live? Maybe, maybe not. What I'm worried about is going forward. Who made this decision? How stupid are you? And if you're not stupid, why wouldn't you mention the value of it? Why wouldn't you talk about the idea of how I might feel here? Like, we're not getting, like, maybe it's been so long that we forgot why this was such a big deal back then. Again, the first ever item ever attributed to a player for an in-game event. Ever. That's what matters here. This thing was such a big deal. Such a big deal. There's so many layers to this, right? The alpha part is absolutely one of those layers. Should we really be doing events like this in an alpha? Probably not. But at the same time, is Star Citizen truly an alpha? We've talked about how it's a live service game, but also an alpha at the same time. This was the live service moments that a lot of us were waiting for. And then you just took that idea or that concept and just ripped it to shreds. You know? And the CDF armor, I feel, is something different. So I see some people talking about the armor for Xenothreat. That is the same armor that we have in game with a tiny little CDF thing. This was a completely unique item for a holiday event. Again, if you've ever played MMOs, you would know how this goes. The Halloween 2018 event items become more and more valuable as the years go on and players quit and move on. Okay? The 2022 ones, dude, you could trade them back and forth to each other for no value in 2022. But in 2025, 2026, 2027, they gain more and more and more and more value. Right? There's also the whole other argument here, guys, is like things that you buy on the subscriber store. I wonder what, like, it's kind of the same concept. Is those are on the loot table too. But if everything goes in the loot table, whether you set rarity to them or not, if everything goes on the loot table, then where's the value? Where's the rarity? Where's that element of the game anywhere? For a limited time, it already had its limited time. It already had its limited time. And then you took its limited time and just extended it. And also, the rarity of the item back then was maybe 1. Now the rarity of the item is 10. Where a higher number is less rare. Right? So that's how I feel. There's a lot of layers to it. There's arguments for them doing this. Absolutely. I gave those arguments. There's arguments for not doing it, and I gave those too. I'm on the why would we ever think to do this? Anybody who was hoping that this game would have the MMO feels to them and all that are going to be disappointed, I guess, because if these are the decisions that we're making, event items may never be a thing. Sadly.